If you want to be successful, you got to work more and talk less. What's going on, guys? It's Uzziah, your success consultant, and in today's video, I want to share with you 3 life-changing principles that you need to understand about the subject of execution in business. So right off the rip, I want you to understand this. For those of you that are trying to be able to start a business, grow a business, or maybe right now you're working at a job, but at some point you want to be able to go into a venture to be able to create an additional stream of income, the number one thing that you need to understand is this. The number one variable that's going to move a business forward is execution. It's not marketing. It's not networking. It's not your social media strategy. It's not all of these billions of things that people talk about every single day that sounds good, but they're just trying to sell an idea or they're trying to sell a concept. The number one thing that's going to move a business forward is execution. So here's what I mean behind that. Right now, you could have a mentality at a subconscious level where you think that all of your success in a business is going to be behind how good an idea you have. Have you ever been around people where it's like they're talking so much about the idea and they feel like it's going to be $1 million idea, $1 billion idea? The truth of the matter is they're never going to see that million or that billion if that idea is not executed upon as flawlessly as the power of the idea is itself. So I would rather take an idea in business that's mediocre and execute upon it perfectly day by day than to have a stellar business idea. It's just going to change the world. It's going to have this massive impact, but your execution sucks. This is where most people get caught up in building a business. And again, this is one of the many reasons why over 80% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years of getting started. It's a undervaluing of the power of execution. So I'm saying that in layman's terms, to work more and talk less because there's too much of an overemphasis on the wrong things. Is marketing important? Extremely important in a business. You can execute on something and you can do a stellar job, but you still got to go out and market it. So there's multiple variables that go into having a successful business. It's not just going to be one set thing this is going to take your business over the hill. It's going to be different ingredients, okay? But what I'm saying is, when it comes to execution, you could have the best marketing strategy in the world. But if your business, your product, or your service is poorly executed, all of the marketing in the world is not going to save your business from going under. You have to be able to deliver. Okay, so the second point that I want you to understand in today's video is that in order to be able to execute at a certain type of a level, you've got to be able to put in the hours. Now, there's been a lot of really powerful research that's taken place over the past few years about how many hours one has to put in order to be successful in a skill. So whether or not you are an aspiring business owner or you're even someone that's working at a job, but you want to be at the top of the corporate ladder in that respective area, you've got to be able to put in your hours, okay? Now, putting in your hours, I'll base this on the studies that have come from K. Anders Ericsson, the 10,000 hour rule, which is you need to be able to have 10,000 plus hours of daily deliberate practice and focused training in order to be able to get to world-class success. So what does that mean? They have a saying, they say that all overnight successes took about 15 years or more to be able to get to a certain level of accomplishment. You know how they say, oh yeah, this person's an overnight success and that person's an overnight success and it was just a fly-by-night type of event. Yeah, you might have been seeing this person on camera for the very first time at a certain level, but it doesn't mean that that was the first time when they actually started working on their craft. They actually took years and years and years of working tremendously in their respective trade before the world ever got to see them. Even myself personally, I've been speaking in front of large audiences since I was 5 years old. But it wasn't until decades later that I actually had a business concept developed that would have allowed me to take the gift of public speaking and use it in a productive way to be able to impact the lives of others through this channel of Black Men's Career. So you got to be able to understand and you got to be able to put in the hours. When you put in the work, you don't want to just scatter your work around all of these just random areas. You don't want to just say, oh, I'm putting in 10,000 hours. You know, I'm running some errands. I'm making phone calls. I'm in meetings. You need to be able to put in 10,000 plus hours towards a specific trade, towards one specific skill, one specific craft, one specific area of expertise that's going to put you among the top 5% of people in the world that are proficient at that skill. So you need to understand, what is that going to be for you? You know, if you've been spending all this time just in these dead-end jobs that are just paying the bills, but they're not actually honing a specific craft, you need to get out of that mentality and you need to start doubling and tripling down on one set thing that's going to take you over the top. You got to put in your 10,000 hours. And don't think that when we're talking about this 10,000 hour rule in law, it's just going to be, oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to work from sun up to sundown, and that's going to be my 10,000 hours right there. It's going to have to happen over an extended period of time because you have to go through the process of developing muscle memory. So if you wanted to be a good piano player, I don't care if you started playing the piano for the first time for 24 consecutive hours, you're not going to be a grand pianist overnight, because no matter how many hours you put into right there at that moment, your brain has to make certain neural connections and certain neural patterns to form habits on how to be able to effectively play a song on the piano. Okay, so you might have to be able to play certain melodies day in and day out, hour in and hour out, before you get to a certain level of success. Your brain has to be able to develop the muscle memory. Even if you went to the gym and developed physical muscles, you can't just go into the gym one time and you're lifting weights for 24 hours straight and then you're going to walk out of the gym being cock diesel. It doesn't happen like that. Your muscle itself is not actually being formed in the gym. Your muscle is only going to develop and grow during its time of recovery. All you were doing in the gym was actually activating the muscle fibers to get torn down so that way it could trigger itself for growth. The growth doesn't happen in the gym. So even when it comes to you being able to put on muscle, get yourself in shape, grow and build, it's something that happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight. You talk to any bodybuilder, anybody that's in world-class shape, it's not just one gym visit, it's multiple gym visits. Daily, consistent efforts that over time is going to lead to bigger results, okay? You got to put in a 10,000 hours. Last but not least, what you got to be able to do in order to be able to put in those 10,000 hours where you're having relentless focus on execution and not just talking about execution, not just talking about your idea, you got to be able to develop the ideal working environment, okay? Develop the ideal working environment. Now, one thing that you guys notice, whenever I'm shooting these videos, I'm right here in my home office. This, for me personally, is my ideal working environment for day-to-day business operations. Now, some people are not wired like that. Some people might look at my setup and say, damn, I could never do what Uzziah does because I wouldn't be able to focus at home. Maybe you've got kids. Maybe you got people running around the house. Maybe you live in a noisy environment. Maybe for whatever reason, you just being at home and working is not your ideal environment, not your ideal location. Maybe your brain is so triggered towards leisure and recreation around the house that you don't see how you could be laser focused and locked in at your home. You got to know what your ideal working environment is. So what place gives you the most focus? How do you set that up? Here's a couple basic principles that I can give to you as like tips and hacks on how to create your ideal working environment. So the first thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to put yourself in an environment where you can do what Cal Newport would call deep work. Okay, another one of the highly recommended books that I always talk about checking out, Deep Work by Cal Newport. It's a really good book. You want to be able to figure out, how do hardworking people that work smart as well as work hard, how do they work? Hardworking people that work smart, they don't work hard by, having their phone available to where any person that calls, the ringtone's going to go off and take them off their focus. Any little text message that somebody's sending, you're going to hear this loud ass bell that Apple has programmed to be able to grab your attention. They're not going to be, having a million different windows up so they can see who's emailing them while they're working, who's tweeting them while they're working, who just got married on their Facebook news feed. They're not going to have a million different distractions vying for their attention as they're in a state of what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi would call flow. You want your brain to be in flow. In other words, what flow means is you want to be able to work on something so deeply and so focused that you lose track of time because you're just in the zone. You're in your moment. You're in your element. You're just putting in the work. Everything is coming there right together. It's like you're just making the magic happen right there in the spot because your brain is in focus, okay? Your brain is in flow. So if you want to be able to get to that level, you got to know how to build the ideal working environment, okay? In the ideal working environment, there's no distractions. Maybe in the ideal working environment, you've already motivated yourself in a certain type of a way. Maybe you already have a dream collage where you've thought about why you're working hard, the possessions that you want to get, the people's lives that you want to change. You've already amped yourself up so that way when you get to work, you already have a sense of purpose on why you're working. Myself personally, this is the ideal working environment for my day-to-day affairs. But if I were working on a big project, maybe I would want to go to a hotel where I'm not there for leisure. I'm just putting myself in a new environment to be able to focus. No phone, no guests, just locking myself in a hotel room and I work. Maybe I'm going on a trip somewhere and I'm just taking the trip just because I need to do work on the plane. That's how I'm going to focus, okay? You need to identify what your ideal working environment is. Maybe it might be good for you to kill two birds with one stone. You travel, maybe go to the mountains, go rent out a cabin, and you're seeing somewhere new. It's a nice spot, it's super relaxing, but you're there to be in isolated focus and isolated work. Whatever your ideal working environment is, that's where you need to be able to position yourself in order to do great things. If you don't escape the masses, and if you just try to work while taking phone calls, while taking text messages, while doing email, you're never going to be able to produce something substantial that transcends a superficial level of effort. And every single person that's done something super impactful in the world, they transcended superficial work. All right, so please subscribe to this video. Please leave me a comment and tell me I'm going to work more and talk less. That's what I want to be able to hear from you. If you're serious about your success, leave me that comment. I'm going to work more and I'm going to talk less. Instead of talking, I'm going to focus on the execution. Instead of just, networking and all these other things that people talk about, right? That's a different concept. There's a lot of talk, and I didn't spend so much time delving into that area. Maybe I'll put in another video. This is kind of a counterintuitive approach. A lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's a certain grain of truth to that. But even if you know the right people, you still got to be competent in what you know. You can know Steven Spielberg all day, but if you can't act worth a damn, he's not going to put you into his movies. So you still need to have a certain focus on execution, even when the right opportunity presents itself. Leave me a comment. Tell me that you're going to work more and talk less, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe.